Okay.
That's pretty good. I got those. Okay. Well, hello everyone. It's really nice to be here. I want to ask you, and we're doing a Jewish meditation, not Jewish mediation, like it said in some of the ads. If you're here for Jewish mediation, there's no such thing. So I just wonder if you, if I ask you, what is meditation? What do you think of when you think of meditation? What is it?
A time for introspection and calming yourself down, being sort of presence in a peaceful place, hopefully.
Preparing to prayer.
Say again?
Preparing yourself to pray.
Just say preparing for prayer.
I must admit, until a few years ago, I'd known the idea that Judaism had a meditation base, and I feel maybe Western rationalism, which Jews took to as well, maybe put kiboshing out of it, and always attributed it to Eastern sources. I don't know how much influence that's been on Judaism, so I'm going to find out some history maybe. And I attribute it to Kabbalah, I suppose it's rooted in Kabbalah, but that's it.
We have a really deep mystical tradition, but a lot of the mystics were murdered in the Holocaust, and a lot of that stuff got lost then. And so Judaism has become very intellectualized, and that part's really been not so much lost, but downplayed. And just people who are searching for a mystical tradition or a meditative tradition in the Jewish tradition have gone to the Buddhist tradition and the Hindu traditions and then kind of come back in. So it's been renewed a bit, but it's always been there. It's not a new thing.
Was it separate or parallel to Eastern mysticism?
The Jewish
one.
tradition?
Was it completely
I
separate
don't
or
know the answer to
parallel?
that.
Okay.
I imagine it was from the beginning of Jewish Judaism. So, with that, yeah. Oh, sorry, of course. Yeah, I'll speak out. So, I'll talk a little bit about Jewish meditation and some techniques for Jewish meditation, and then we'll try some out during the session today. I wish I could just speak to you, but I have notes and I'm just going to read some of them, just because I don't want to forget what I was thinking about.
And by the third session, we should be able to levitate.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Michelle. Judaism has a long history, as I said, of contemplative and meditative practice. We are told that the first Hasidim meditated for an hour before prayer and an hour afterwards. And the Talmud tells us that when the rabbi was asked, "What do you do before praying?" the rabbi asked, "I pray that I may be able to pray," as you so wisely told us. And so Judaism is an extraordinary path for spiritual growth. Ordinary Jewish practice, our prayer, Torah study, immersion in the Sabbath, all of those are a guide to an entire spiritual practice. There's considerable spiritual power in all of these normal Jewish traditional practices. The usual ways of meditating are sitting in silence, meditating on a word or a phrase, reflecting on the day's events. This is our prayer, these are our rituals, our study, our celebrations. That's what we do. Jewish living, full Jewish living, is a mindfulness practice. Every facet of our life is an opportunity for meditative awareness. When we wash our hands, when we prepare food, when we get dressed in the morning, when we eat, our rituals around every moment of our day help us to see more clearly with a calm and awakened mind. In Jewish meditation, we use the word kavanah. Our sages tell us, as I said before, I'll repeat a lot just because that's kind of a meditative thing as well, lots of repetition. Our sages tell us that they had to meditate for an hour in order to attain a state of kavanah. They had to pray that they were able to pray. Kavanah means to direct the heart to the text or to the content of the prayer. Kavanah is more than paying attention. It is attentiveness to God. It is an act of appreciation, of being able to stand in the presence of God. It's translated as feeling or concentration or devotion. We speak of praying with kavanah or maintaining kavanah while doing certain actions. A more literal translation of kavanah could be directed consciousness, and that is a definition of meditation, directed consciousness or kavanah. So Judaism, the practice of Judaism demands that we pay attention to what we are doing. It is a path that helps us wake up to our lives and to remain attentive to what we are doing. Eating, going to the bathroom, all those are natural, and we mark them with blessings, we lift them up. We don't take them for granted. And Judaism points us towards the possibility of a deeper experience of human life. The whole observance of Shabbat, a day of stepping back from our daily endeavors. Through the various Shabbat observances, we learn to perceive the beauty of the moment. When the car, the TV, the computer, the phone, and business or busyness are put aside, we're not bored, but as the Rabbi Jonathan Slater said, we are stunned. There is time to reflect and time to observe. There is silence, there is stillness. There is beauty to be found in every moment. Shabbat observance can be an experience like a retreat. People often say to me when I come back from a retreat, oh, I wish I could go on a retreat. Shabbat is a retreat. Retreat practice strips down daily living to its most minimal. We care for our body, we sleep, we eat. And when we're not sleeping, all our action is devoted to deepening our awareness. You'll find that on your retreat. Shabbat is an opportunity to do the same. The taste of the food, the conversation, the beauty of the candles, the whole ease of unstructured time. Every week we have the opportunity to take a retreat, a mindfulness retreat. We could even let our Shabbat morning synagogue service be like a retreat. During that time, we're out of touch with the rest of the world. Time in synagogue is like a mini retreat, helping us to settle our minds, to open our hearts, to see more clearly. Shabbat helps us to wake up to our lives, and on Shabbat our thinking can become clearer. Just going to the service and just taking that time out of time is a way to have a regular meditative practice without having to do anything major. Our daily service is also a meditative practice. It's a meditative exercise. Our Siddur is a mindfulness guide. The first part of our morning, of all of our daily service, requires us to consider who we are, where we stand, and how we perceive ourselves. All those introductory blessings. The words of the introductory psalms wake us up even further. So we're clearing our mind, and then we're more prepared to see more clearly what it is we truly wish to pray for. And then we prepare with songs of praise. We say the Shema. The Shema is a meditation in its own right. If we say the word slowly, the Shema can be a very powerful meditation. The Shema tells us to listen and hear the message that God is one with every fiber of our being. Daniel Frank spoke a couple of weeks ago about the Shema. And since he spoke about it, he told us to look at all the words, and we took it apart. And since that time, when I say the Shema, I visualize Elohim surrounded on both sides by the unpronounceable name of God, unknowable, unpronounceable God. So that lesson from Daniel helped my Shema meditation deepen even more, so we can continue to deepen all the time. I have a Shema meditation that we'll do today if we have time, otherwise we can do it next time. And then the Shema prepares us for the Amidah. The Amidah is a meditative discipline. The Talmud verifies that this is its original intention as a meditative device. The same prayer, repeated 3 times a day, chanted in that kind of chanting kind of mantra, it lifts us to a high meditative level. And by this time in our service, we are prepared to be a vessel to receive divine blessing. So this is all, our Siddur just helps us get to that place. We have it. It's in our book that we look at every day.
To get to that, the Amidah?
To get to the Amidah, and then the Amidah itself opens us wide. Yeah. You can also chant a verse from a psalm or a prayer over and over. So that's a really nice technique, which we will practice today and again next time. Kol ha-neshama tehallel, hallelujah. Let every breath praise God, hallelujah. You can just chant that over and over and over. I use that one when I'm walking. Kol ha-neshama tehallel. I say over and over again, and it just kind of, it's a really nice meditative experience for me. You can do it when you're swimming. The one that I always keep on my lips and I have engraved in my ring is Elohai neshama shenatat bi tehorahi. Oh God, the soul you have given me is pure. So those are my two favorites. But you can take a line from any of the prayers, any of our psalms, a favorite one, and just repeat it over and over. And that's a really beautiful meditative device on so many levels. The words, the sound of it, the feel of it. It's just a really deep practice. Our mezuzah, we stop at our door. I'm just picking out my faves. You stop at your door and you touch your mezuzah. It's just stop for a second. Pay attention. I'm about to enter a room. Where am I? Am I agitated? Am I peaceful? Am I looking forward? Am I worried? It's a moment. It's a meditative moment. Stop. Stop. And then go. So we can even use that simple thing that we do each time we walk into a room as a Jewish meditative device. Contemplative study of the text is also a wonderful meditative device. Just reading the text in chavruta with a study partner brings you to a deeper or higher plane. Dr. Elida Zornberg said, reading Torah to one another is like giving them the gift of revelation. So get with your friend, just read the portion to each other. You don't have to know you don't have to be a rabbi, you don't have to know all the commentary. Just take the text and read it to your friend, to each other, and you're giving yourself the gift of revelation. I mean, it's easy. We're going to do some of that later, after the break. The Hebrew alphabet is a very powerful spiritual tool. A beautiful meditative device, a practice, I should say practice, not device, is to write the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Just copy the letters in order. That could be your meditative practice. Just sit and write the Hebrew alphabet. Take your time, don't skip any letters, give each letter plenty of space. As you copy each letter, become aware of the pictorial representation of each letter. I have this book, which I really like, The Hebrew Alphabet, A Mystical Journey. And it has a little story about each of the letters. So for example, Aleph, the first letter, just to start, you can just write the Aleph, but it's nice to just practice writing the alphabet. It helps you know the order, because I never remember the order myself. So I'll just tell you a little bit of a story about the Aleph. The Aleph is the outward thrusting energy that seeds the cosmos. It is the primal force of creation that exists before any form can even be visualized. For the Bible itself begins with the second letter, Bet, Bereshit, not the first letter, Aleph. The Zohar teaches us that each person possesses some of this divine power, but the Aleph's shape resembles an individual ready to act in the world, ready to go. So, very good practice. Just write the letters. You can look at this book later, or whenever you like. The Aleph also represents the number 1 and begins the word for divine unity. Meditation on Aleph brings greater energy into your everyday activities. You can free your imagination to allow you to sense what each letter has to say to you. As you're doing it, each letter might have some kind of a feeling for you. Note whether you feel a special affinity to any of the letters. You're like, oh, I love Lamed. So it's a really interesting exercise, and it's really lovely, and it's really, you can just do it. You don't have to study deeply to be able to do a regular practice of writing out the Hebrew alphabet and just loving the letters and noticing which letters appeal to you. Another of my favorites is spontaneous personal prayer. In Europe, for example, it was the most natural thing in the world to cry out to God in Yiddish. Remember the Fiddler on the Roof, Tevye the milkman. He's always calling, arguing, talking to God all the time. Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav says that a person's personal prayers before God are a form of Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration. This is exactly how King David wrote the book of Psalms. The Psalms are full of David's crying out to God. Rabbi Nachman suggested making a fixed time to speak to God every day. When a person speaks to God spontaneously, whenever you feel like it, Rabbi Nachman says that's prayer. When there is a fixed practice for a fixed amount of time, it's a meditation. Begin by telling yourself, for the next 1, 2, 5, 10, 20 minutes, I'm going to be alone with God. It's like beginning a visit. Even if there's nothing to say, you can just sit in silence together. And if you have trouble beginning the conversation, a good way to start is with, Oy vey. Great way to start a conversation with God. If it's hard, just say so. You can say, I want to talk to you. I'm not even sure you exist. I'm not even sure I believe in you. But just start the conversation. Once it's begun, it's really easy to continue. And you can talk about the same thing all the time because God doesn't get bored. So you can just talk about all your problems and you can say the same thing all the time. It's really a great practice. Great to start with a sigh or an oy vey. Big sigh, oy vey. Great to talk to God every day. Yeah, that's right. And just speak to God as if you're speaking to a really close friend. Just let it out. It's a really good practice that I do a lot. Another way of having a conversation with God is what the Jewish mystics call automatic writing. One of my teachers, Rabbi David Cooper, he's the author of this book called God is a Verb. He suggests some subjects for automatic writing. It's the same as yelling out, but instead you're writing it. I sometimes find that easier because I'm in a situation where yelling out might disturb people. So writing is good in that way. So he suggests you imagining a conversation with someone who has died, some loved one who's died. You want to have a conversation, just start writing. Reflect on your life for the last few weeks and describe the events and what you would change if you could. So you think about your life. What would you have maybe changed? How would you have changed it? Just write it all out. You write without stopping and for a certain amount of time. And then that's also a really great experience. I find it really revelatory when I do that. I have something that's on my mind. I can't get it out. I can't figure it out. And I just write to God. Just write. Now I have this thing on my mind. I don't know what to do about it. And then, I don't know, things come. I get some answers. So talk to God, write to God. This is Jewish meditation.
Do you get answers with your own voice in your head?
I get answers like, sometimes I get answers like I. Sometimes I hear, you know what you have to do. You have to do this. You should do this, or that person is, whatever. So sometimes it's in the out there. Sometimes it's in here. It's really interesting. Also drawing. This is also good. I'm not talking about that so much today, but just kidding. I have crayons by my journal, and I just sometimes just start to draw, and it's like, oh, look, I drew the bottom of my foot. Something about my soul. I don't know. It's just fun. But you get some kind of answers. Okay? Yeah.
How is that meditation though if you're just doing that unconsciously? So the meditation is like a
It's
conscious,
mindfulness.
yeah. But if you're writing without
You're
trying
kind
to
of-
think about it.
It's paying attention in that same kind of way, but it's directed attention. So you're directing your attention to asking a question and receiving an answer. So sometimes in your silent meditation, you also ask a question. I often ask a question, and then I just wait. Sometimes something comes, and sometimes something doesn't. So it's just that kind of waiting in a more active way. It's not it's a more active kind of meditation.
Doesn't
think.
it deal with your subconscious? The free associated writing?
I think so, yeah. I think that in meditation that comes up as well. Have you had that experience in meditation? Have that happened for you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a divine not just meditation.
Yeah, it's all those words describing similar situations, I think.
There are moments, I would say, because you start writing with a sort of consciousness, and you know what you want to write about, but as you sort of let it go, something comes from somewhere else. Yeah. And that feels like meditation. So then you go, where did that come from? Yeah. So that's it.
And it's just the writing, even the exercise of writing, the practice of it.
Sometimes the beginning is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you get into that space that feels like a meditation.
And if you do it at the same time each day, it's more of a practice.
Yeah, I haven't been able to master that.
That's okay. So sometimes something that comes up when people talk about meditation is social action. Okay, Jewish people are supposed to be out in the world. The thing about Jews is we do stuff. You know, we're out there, we're helping people, and here we are, sitting in silence, watching our breath, talking to God, writing down things. Why aren't we out there donating blood, and visiting the sick, and being more active? When we meditate, we clear our minds, and we actively are getting rid of greed, tension, anger, and insensitivity. And until we're clear of all those, any good works we do are extensions of our own ego, and are no real help in the long run. I have had this experience many times where I'm going to do something good, and it turns out not so good. And then I think, well, I'm not going to do good stuff anymore because it doesn't turn out good. You know? And when I started to learn about meditation, I thought, oh, because I'm doing it as an extension of my ego, I'm not doing it from a pure place. So meditation really helps you act from a place that's not you. Yeah, it's pure.
It also fits in with the concepts of the Duckor as well, of how you attribute your tzedakah and why you do your motivations for it.
There's many ways.
There's many
So there's the different stages of
Yeah.
tzedakah.
Is there writings between the interactions between those two?
There must be. There must be. Because how do you get to that level? I mean, a lot of things that Rabbi Alima was talking about last week, how do you get to the level that he was asking us to act at, the level of not suffering and acting purely, and without sitting in silence. You know, he had an example of a man talking to somebody about the son who died or was going to die, and he was supposed to be as joyous as on the day of a baby's birth, and how do you get to that? And he said the rabbi went into a room, and then he thought about how he felt when the baby was born, and so he got to that state, and then he went out and talked to the other couple.
It was his son that died, his own son.
So he tried to remember.
How happy
So
he was
that
when the son was born.
how does he get to that state? You have to use meditation. You can't just sit there and be like, I'm going to try to remember how I was on the day my son was born, that he died. It's just like, you have to do these, you have to go through those levels, you know?
I think that's the point with any mitzvah.
Could you just speak louder, please, for
Yeah.
everybody?
I can repeat what she says otherwise.
See, I think that that's what we have to do with any fulfillment of mitzvah. It has to come from a place that's unselfish.
But it's hard, we still have to do them as well because it's really hard to always, sometimes you just have to do them without,
Right.
but
So
but they're more,
it's not as good as doing it from a meditative state.
yeah. I was really struggling with that for a while because I thought, well, Judaism is about doing the deeds, and really your motivation, yeah, it's good if you have good motivation, but it doesn't matter, it's what you do that matters. That's how I was always brought up. But I'm seeing now that when you do it from another place, even though you do the same action, it has a really different. Yeah. So let's do some. How are we doing? We're good. Mindfulness of the breath. Now, all meditations and all different Buddhist, Hindu, we all start with the breath because it's always there. You don't have to get a piece of paper or pencil or a flower or a candle. Our breath is always with us. So mindfulness of your breath can help you learn to focus because it's easy to observe, it's always there. The English word for spirit is related to the word respiration, spirit, respiration. And the Hebrew word for soul, neshama, and breath, neshima, have the same root. Ruach means spirit, but also wind or movement of air, which is like breath. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, God formed the human of the dust of the soil. He blew into his nostrils the breath of life, and the human became a living being. So the first breath was an in-breath for us and an out-breath for God, I guess. So we pay attention to the breath. It's a way of paying attention to our divine animating force, life force. So to begin the practice of concentrating on your breath, sit comfortably. I'm not going to give you directions on how to sit. Just be comfortable. So you're not shifting, you're warm, comfortable. You can close your eyes, you can keep your eyes open, you can partly close your eyes. Sometimes when we close our eyes, we just kind of fall asleep. So if you think you might do that, that's okay. But kind of just, maybe just look at the floor, half close your eyes, or you can close your eyes. Notice whatever thoughts or feelings are present in your mind that are there right now. Just notice them. You don't have to ban them. You don't have to do anything with them. Just notice. You won't spend too long so you can eat. Okay, just be quick, minutes or something. Okay, I don't want to do too long. And begin to focus on your breath. Just notice your breath. Notice the arising of the breath and the passing of the breath. Just notice your breathing. You don't have to change your breathing. Don't make it stronger or weaker. Just notice. Notice your breathing. Notice the physical sensations around the breathing. What's going on in your body as you're breathing. Notice the breath coming in your nose, if it's cool. And try to just notice your breath and any thoughts that are passing, just let them go. We spoke earlier about meditation on Hebrew letters. There's a beautiful meditation where we can breathe in, breathe out the divine name, the name of God. Begin with the letter Hey. Hey, the letter Hey appears twice in the letters that make up God's name. When you say the Hey out loud, it's the sound of breathing. Hey, breathing out. So you breathe in, it's also the sound of hey. And there's a perspective that since pronouncing the letter hey is the same as the sound of breathing, there's a connection between breathing and God's name. God's name is actually a breath. Jewish mystics have understood the letter Yud, the tiny little comma, to be connected to the concept of emptiness. So imagine the Yud as the state of emptiness that occurs before the in-breath. So you're before the in-breath, there's emptiness, there's the Yud. And the first Hey is the in-breath itself. At the end of the in-breath, before the start of the out-breath, your lungs are full. And this can be represented by the letter Vav. The letter Vav can represent fullness. The letter Vav is just a straight line. So the whole cycle of breathing can connect to the divine name. Yud, empty. Hey, breathing in. Vav, full. Hey, breathing out. When you're doing this meditation, your mind will probably wander. Don't worry or judge. Simply and gently bring your focus back to the breath and the connection to the divine name. It's the returning that is central. Practice, mindfulness practice, is noticing when your mind wanders and bringing it back. If you're uncomfortable using Hebrew letters, consider saying to yourself, just empty, in, full, out. Empty, in, full, out. Yud, hey, vav, hey. Let's take a couple of minutes. We'll take 2 minutes. Breathe in either the divine name or empty in, full out.
Should we be aiming to breathe in as deeply as we can or keep it shallow?
Just your breath, don't change it. Just your normal breath. I mean, occasionally you'll take a deeper breath. Don't be trying to change, but just noticing. That's the thing. The mindfulness meditation is just to notice. Just how you're breathing. Just notice how your breath is. Don't. If you want to, you can, but it's, sometimes when I'm doing it, my mind wanders, I'll take a deep breath just to bring me back. Because I'm thinking about something else. And I was like, oh, yeah. It's hard, that was only for 2 minutes. It is hard to stay with the breath, but anyone managing to stay with their breath for 2 minutes? But then, it can come back. It can come back, and that's tshuva. That's the turning. That's the moment. As soon as you notice, thinking of making lists, thinking about what I have to do, or thinking about all the millions of things that we think about, bringing it back. Not to judge ourselves and say, oh, I'm such a bad meditator. So no. It's that whole turning and coming back, which is the thing. That is the whole thing. So, yeah.
I thought that deep breaths were, like, I read something where we don't really breathe right to begin with. We're supposed to be taking deeper breaths and using our full capacity. And that's actually helpful for meditation.
Can you repeat that, please?
We were also, Alexandra was talking about the deep breaths as well, to breathe deeply. But then I was taught just to concentrate on how you're breathing, not to be thinking, oh, my stomach should be going out, and my... Just noticing.
Because yoga breaths are supposed to be like using your full capacity.
So So if you are used to doing those yoga breaths, then that's the way you should be breathing. But if you're not, the teaching is to just notice where you're at now. It's where we're at right now. We're not learning to do yoga. What?
Yeah, it's consciousness. It's not how you should be breathing, but it's how you are breathing. Just notice how you are.
So this, exactly. So we're noticing how we're breathing. And if you're also learning in another way to do some deep breathing, then that will help. But yes, to notice where we're at right now. What's now? What's here? What's happening? This is how I breathe. It's not good or bad. It's not healthy or unhealthy. It's the way I breathe. The only thing is if you have trouble breathing, if you have asthma or there's a problem, then you probably then focusing on the breath is probably not the best thing to do. But if you are okay with breathing, then just it's a really interesting thing to think about. So how you should be breathing, if you're breathing properly, but that's not part of this kind of teaching. It's just to breathe. Be with where your breath is.
I find actually the use of the word, whatever word it is, or the mantra, that sort of brings me into my breathing starts to follow that. So, and I do get asthma sometimes, so I'd rather let the word be what I'm focusing on at first, and then my breathing sort of calms down and follows that.
And then you notice, that breath was deeper, that in-breath was longer,
right.
and my out-breath. It's not saying my in-breath should be longer than my out-breath, or my out-breath should be longer than my in-breath. It's just, but the more we notice, the more we're noticing that was a deep breath, that was a shallow breath. Not to judge it or to change it, just to notice. The noticing is hard because we're so used to saying, I should walk this way, I should breathe this way. So it's just interesting to just notice what you're doing
Can I ask
without judgment.
How did the rabbis get themselves into that meditative state? Through the breath or something else?
They would meditate on some of maybe on the divine name. They were meditating on perhaps the divine name. Do you know?
He said vodka.
What's that?
He said
I say
vodka.
vodka.
Oh, vodka. I think that vodka was part of it, and probably other kinds of substances as well. I've heard.
Any name it is.
So these are just but they're prayers. Some of the mantras and the praying and the I don't know. A lot of it was lost.
Hey, JoEllen, there's another tool of meditation.
Yeah.
In the Christian tradition, the Christian school I went to, the monks would come and visit, and they would bring incense, which is very unusual in the Protestant tradition, or delineated with the Asian or the Catholics. But the Anglican, there are Protestant monks, and they would bring incense. And when I asked about it, as young Jewish girl in the Protestant school, they were naturally referred me back into the Christian tradition of gold, frankincense, and myrrh being brought to Jesus, but they said your forebears used this. So is that
I think all of our senses.
yeah? But I just
Were you so aware of
see it in
smells,
the
or
Jewish. I never see it used as a
use
kind of
it on
sensory.
Magdala. Use it on Magdala.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
No, it's not.
Use it on the etrog, has a smell.
Yeah.
Use it on
I mean it in a more literal sense of I mean you're right from a sensory point of view. I mean literally in sense.
You're not allowed to smell something bad when you have a prayer open. So yeah, if you've eaten baked beans or anything, that's not allowed if the books are open. That's as simple as that. So I guess there's something linked to this as well. On the other side, bad smell are leading you towards what is spiritual and what is holy. But what
I mean, it's in
depends
our-
from what is.
a sweet savor to the Lord in our text all the time.
Yeah.
When we do the sacrifices. And I think that all
But the
the
incense was for God to remember us, for God to smell it. It wasn't for us to smell it.
right. What does that mean, Michelle? Can you say what that means? What does that mean? What are you talking about?
Well, my understanding of the use of incense at temple times was for a pleasing smell for the
This
Lord.
is
It
odor
was
to the Lord, it's strictly,
exactly.
yeah. But was that literally to
Yeah.
cover up the
What?
smell of the slaughter?
I don't know.
Yeah. So I
It
wonder
was
how much
God,
is
God,
That's a
like,
good.
a good,
Yeah,
yeah.
smelling it up.
Smelling it.
Yeah.
Is that like some guy up there smelling it?
Well,
It's the smell of the mitzvah, rather than the proper smell.
But JoEllen, I just asked Michelle, she says, we don't know. Was it used to mask the smell of the slaughter? So I'm just saying, was it practical as opposed to religious talk?
I think a lot of the meditative ways, all mystics throughout time are similar, but we use Jewish language to describe our way of doing it, and that makes it Jewish. But in the mystics, or the Christian mystical tradition, the Buddhist mystical tradition, the Jewish mystical tradition, there's a lot of similarity, but we use our words. We use our traditions. They're ours. Ours. It's not theirs. It's ours, and that makes it Jewish. Really. So you can study with other traditions, and you'll learn the similar techniques. But you say blessings in Hebrew, and you use our words, and you use our holidays, and you use Shabbat. It makes it Jewish.
Something I've noticed about breathing meditation, something that I've practiced for many, many years, is if ever I have problems with my pulse rates, because I've got very high blood pressure, is if I meditate and I focus on my breathing, and after maybe 5 minutes, I can then choose to consciously slow my breathing down, and let my heart rate will slow with it. So I'll ease the heart rate, I'll ease the blood pressure, simply by meditating and choosing to slow the breath down.
Paying attention.
Yeah, so it's a
really
very
affects
effective way
them.
to actually slow things down for health reasons.
Just being a sideline to that, at one stage I had my doctor's lecturing suggested.
And did you go there? And did it help?
It's not something I have ongoing from. It was a short term.
Okay, so another meditation I'd like to do before the break is an eating meditation. Some of us are eating, so it's very good. There's so many issues around eating. Women have issues around eating, men have issues around eating, Jews have lots of issues around eating. And we're told to eat and eat and eat, and then we're told we're too skinny, and then we're told we're too fat, and then we're like, it's really crazy. And already I think when I say we're going to do an eating meditation, there's already stuff that comes up for us. As soon as we say we're having an eating meditation, and then there's like, oh, eating, oh, eating, oh, yeah, I've stuck without eating, So. But we're going to do an eating meditation. They have this beautiful minority.
Not a drinking meditation, JoEllen. Let's get down to the real deal.
Meditation next. And I got some kosher raisins blessed by
Californian sun.
California. So, some of you might have done this meditation before, so maybe you're thinking, I've done this meditation before. So already, it's not pure. I'm just gonna.
I've never done this before.
Okay, well that's.
It's pure for me.
You have memory.
Some of you actually have food in front of you, but I want you to take a raisin. So take a raisin or some raisins, mix around, there's more in here. I guess you could take it out of the box.
Thanks for raising you.
Don't eat it, don't eat it.
Don't eat it.
Oh, take another one.
Take another one.
No, take another one. I
Watch
should
out,
have
you
directions.
It's only the most important.
Eating meditation without eating.
Take a couple of raisins or one raisin. And just don't eat it, but hold it in your hand and have a look at it.
Raisin.
Just look at it. So you look at it, it's for you. Not for me.
We're raising the
It's
roots.
for you.
We're grateful to have
Be grateful to that.
Grateful.
You were saying too, yeah?
Look at your raisins. Look at your raisins. Or raisins. You can take one, you can take two, you can take three. Just the easiest way to take whatever comes out of it. It's free. Take as many as you like. Don't eat them. Yes, we're going to eat them.
10 cents per raisin.
And I can leave them on this table because you're the last table. Wait.
You know what Benoit just said?
What? Tell me what good wine is.
Maybe it's easier for you to meditate on something that is free.
We'll focus on the price.
This is very good mindfulness. Don't think about the price. Okay, it's not free. I'm going to charge you for how many raisins you eat. Okay, so look at your raisin or raisins. And allow lots of time for visual contact with the food. Often we eat a meal and we don't pay any attention at all to the food that we're eating or the experience of eating. As you look at your raisin, use your imagination to get in touch with the wonder of everything that had to happen for this raisin to be in your hand right now. The world had to be created. Had to be sun, had to be rain, had to be, someone had to plant grapes, had to be farmers, had to be pickers, had to be people to, what's that?
Mexicans.
To be Mexicans. There had to be people to make the grapes into raisins, and had to get trucks to pick them up. There had to be stores, there had to be rabbis to certify these raisins as kosher. There's a lot that connects us to the whole world, to everything, by this raisin that we're holding in our hand. It's connected to the creation. Because we're Jewish, we can offer a blessing. So you make a blessing on your raisin, your own personal raisin blessing. Bless your raisin. Feel it. What does it feel like? You can roll it around in your hand, play with your food. Feel your raisin. What does it feel like? Have that sensation of its feeling. And then
Nice.
it doesn't feel nice. Notice how it feels. Don't judge. Don't say nice or not nice. Just notice how it feels. What words would you describe your raisin? You offended me. How would you?
It's not squishy, it's hard.
It's hard.
And
Okay.
it's not smooth.
It's not smooth.
I like smooth things.
Oh, it's
Okay.
wrinkly. You have wrinkles.
It has wrinkles.
It's
It's
the edge.
old.
It's the same as a man.
UV damage.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't like the way it feels.
Well, I
But
think
you,
intuitively I prefer something smooth, and a raisin is not smooth.
so just be aware of those things. Is it pleasant to hold? Is it unpleasant? Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Those are the sensations that we are looking for. And also, not to judge it. I don't like it. It's not nice. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Okay, how about, what is it, smell? Would you like the smell of it? Notice the smell of your raisins? If you're eating fish and chips, it might be disguised by fish and chips. Okay, so now listen to this direction before you do anything. Put it in your mouth, but don't bite it. Put it in your mouth, but don't bite it. So notice what it feels like in your mouth. Notice any salivation. Notice how it feels on your tongue. Put it in your mouth, but don't bite it. Roll it around, roll it around. Notice if there's anything happening in your mouth. If it tastes better, back. Is it changing? Is it changing from hard to soft? Is it just noticing, not making, I like it, I don't like it. Notice it. And then, just what does it taste like without chewing it? Does it have a taste without chewing it? Notice how it tastes or doesn't taste. And then begin to chew and track the sensations. and notice when you're swallowing, if the taste stays, all right? So just chew it, notice.
It's delicious.
You liked it, it's pleasant. After you swallow it, notice, do you have a desire for more? What is that? Notice your desire. Do you want another one? So, imagine if we ate like that. We'd all be so fitting for it takes so long. But I mean, that is one thing we can always do also, is just really notice. When I was on this retreat, it's a silent retreat, so we couldn't talk while we were eating. And so we were encouraged to eat in this way as much as possible. So look at the food, notice the colors, notice the textures, eat it slowly, notice everything, how you're chewing. Are you chewing fast? Are you chewing enough? Do you want more? Are you going up for seconds? Are you going up for seconds because, why? Are you full? Are you satisfied? Are you? So just eating meditation is really powerful, I find.
So if it was a silent retreat, how did they tell you to
They could talk to us.
Sounds like being with
They
your
could
mother.
talk. But we couldn't talk. So it was very interesting. So any comments on the eating meditation? Now you can eat your foods in that way and see if it's different. It's just, notice. You don't want to eat any more now.
I find like saying a bracha before eating and like trying to appreciate where the food comes from is like the most useful or the most beneficial thing in my life.
Okay.
I think like eating kosher kind of like ties into that because you have to be really conscious of where your food comes from.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a real Jewish meditation, is being conscious of where our food comes from, what it is it kosher, is it not kosher, why? Or even just being aware of where it comes from. Was this, if you eat meat, was this meat, is it free range, or was it in a cage, or is it treated well? I mean, just that whole, all that stuff, yeah.
But just being like thankful for it because we just take for granted every day like the food that we eat and these things that we need to like sustain our bodies. But if you just say a blessing and like try to appreciate it, it makes it so much easier.
Gratefulness is really a huge trait that changes everything. Yeah, really good. So my original intention was to do the eating meditation and then have a break for
I think
eating.
it's
Is
a good
that
time
all
for a
right?
break. Yeah. We can still have a 15-minute break.
Okay, and I still have lots more to do, so we can take a little break and then we'll do some studying.
And can I ask you to meditate on the tzedakah box at the end? I'll tell you why we have tzedakah, because we don't obviously have any running costs as to run the session, but we have costs related to the food. We had to buy pots and pans to have cooked food, and that's almost $1,000. So we had individual donors, and from each tzedakah, each week, we're paying back both the Wellington Hebrew Congregation and Temple Sinai, who gave a few $100s each. And at the very end, once it's paid off, we'll figure out what to do with money. But in the meantime, there's still a lot of kohal we need, and we have a long time left. But basically, if you're wondering what it's for, you can be mindful that the money is used to pay back the communities for the plans. So, and feel free to order
Yeah.
during your break. Yeah.
I think I'll have some alcohol.
Thank you. I've been told it's true.
Play again after the pause.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I hope you've had a very meditative eating time. So as I said earlier, contemplative study of the text is a very beautiful way of meditation. When we read the text to each other, to our friends, it brings us to a deeper or higher plane. we could just simply read the text to each other, and that's just always available to you. There's another contemplative way of reading the text that we'll do now. We read a passage 4 times, each time with a different kavanah, or intention. Each time we listen on a different level. This technique is classically called pardes. The peh is for the pshat level, and we're listening on the literal meaning, the plain and simple meaning of the words. The words just describe what's happening in the sentences. The next level is remez, where we listen for hints in the text. Then the drash level is next, where we fill in the blanks with our imagination, our stories, our knowledge from other areas, our knowledge of the rest of the Torah portion. We create midrash. And the sod is the secret level, the unrevealed and mystical level. So this way of reading the text is called entering the pardes. It's God's revelation to us through the Torah. So we'll try this now. I'm going to read 4 verses from this week's Torah portion, Korach. I'll read it in English, and I'll read from the book of Numbers, chapter 17, verses 21 to 24. So I'll read the verses 4 times. Each time I'm going to ask you to listen on a different level. And have a little silence, and then if you want to talk about the experience of listening, then you can share, otherwise we'll just go on to the next, okay? I'm going to read the translation by Rabbi Richard Friedman, who I really like his translation. Kind of keeps with the rhythm of the Hebrew, but it's still not completely literal. It's kind of a modern. This is from this week. We're going to be reading Korach during the week. So the first time I read this, listen on what is called the pshat level. This is the simple meaning of God's word. Is there a word or a phrase that attracts you? Is there something in these lines that is especially meaningful for you? Imagine that you're there. Imagine that you are a participant in this event. What does it feel like to be there? Personally experience what's happening. Just be there now. No interpretation. Literal. The literal meaning. And Moses spoke to the children of Israel, and all their chieftains gave him a staff for each chieftain by their father's house. 12 staffs, and Aaron's staff was among their staffs. And Moses left the staffs in front of Adonai in the tent of the testimony. And it was the next day, and Moses came to the tent of the testimony, and here Aaron's staff of the house of Levi had bloomed, and it had brought out a bloom, and it made a blossom, and it produced almonds. And Moses brought out all the staffs from in front of Adonai to the children of Israel, and they saw, and each took his staff. Read it again, the exact same verses. This time I'll listen on the remez level. Listen for hints. Remez, allusions. On this level we reflect on allusions of God's word. Where am I in this tale? Is there a message here for you? Are the words or the situation telling you something? Is there a teaching here? Listen for a hint or a hidden message. So you don't have to be distracted. And Moses spoke to the children of Israel, and all their chieftains gave him a staff for each chieftain by their father's house. 12 staffs, and Aaron's staff was among the staffs. And Moses left the staffs in front of Adonai in the tent of the testimony. And it was the next day, and Moses came to the tent of the testimony, and here Aaron's staff of the house of Levi had bloomed. And it brought out a bloom, and it made a blossom, and it produced almonds. And Moses brought out all the staffs from in front of Adonai to the children of Israel, and they saw, and each took his staff. I'll read it a third time. This time listen on the drush level. What happened before this? What do you know about this situation? This is Korah. This is from the portion of Korah. Create midrash. Open to your imagination. Change the scene. Bring in new possibilities. Let your imagination soar. Fill in the spaces. Develop the story. And Moses spoke to the children of Israel, and all their chieftains gave him a staff of each chieftain by their father's house, 12 staffs, and Aaron's staff was among the staffs. And Moses left the staffs in front of Adonai in the tent of the testimony. And it was the next day, and Moses came to the tent of the testimony, and here Aaron's staff of the house of Levi had bloomed. And it brought out a bloom, and it made a blossom, and it produced almonds. And Moses brought out all the staffs from in front of Adonai to the children of Israel, and they saw, and each took his staff. This is the Zod. This is the mystical secret level. Rest silently in God's Word. Reflect on how this passage might reveal secrets of meaning concerning your life, the life of our world. Listen for the mystery. There are secrets here we can never know, deep secrets. The divine spark is in every word. After I read this passage the last time, we'll just sit for a moment and let questions arise for you. And Moses spoke to the children of Israel, and all their chieftains gave him a staff for each chieftain by their father's house, 12 staffs, and Aaron's staff was among their staffs. And Moses left the staffs in front of Adonai in the tent of the testimony. And it was the next day, and Moses came to the tent of the testimony, and here Aaron's staff of the house of Levi had bloomed. And it brought out a bloom, and it made a blossom, and it produced almonds. And Moses brought out all the staffs from in front of Adonai to the children of Israel, and they saw, and each took his staff.
found it's hard to distinguish between the second and the third readings. You almost have to think, well, this is what I thought for number 2. I have to think something differently for number 3. Yeah. Well, it's
But what
hard
did
to
you think? I mean, did something come to you, anything, or did you see something different in each, in the?
Yeah, for number, it's interesting. Well, for the first one, I tried to stick to listening to the literal story.
Yeah.
The second one, I looked for the meaning, the symbolic meaning in that Aaron was chosen, not just that. So that what does it mean? He was chosen by God. The third one was, it can be applied, try to think about applying it to the Jews today. And then the fourth one was about more metaphysical, like what was so special about Aaron that he was chosen? We don't know. So I tried to look at it in this different way. Yeah. Anyone else?
Oh, Luca.
I had a different experience. On the literal level, I was just thinking about the story, and I really love almond flowers.
Yeah.
So I just find it beautiful, the almond.
Yeah. Nice.
And for the second, I'm more concentrating on the fact that all the stuffs were put in the same place all together. So it was chosen, but he was one equal to the others.
Yeah, they were all together in the.
They were all together, and he was, yeah, as you said, it was sort of chosen, and
Yeah.
the one who bloomed. And for the third level, like thinking about trash and stories.
Yeah.
So thought my little story.
Yeah.
They were all fresh and young, like new stuffs. So they were just being cut from the trees. But Aaron was the only staff which had a sort of pointy end. So it was the only one which went into the ground.
Wow.
And I thought it was like the desert, but going to the ground reached the water, and so he was the only one who sort of went deep to, and for like more than mystical, I was actually thinking, no. I tried to think about why the almond.
Yeah.
I mean, could have been maybe like another fruit.
It's not mentioned often in the Torah. Apart from that passage, I've never been aware of it. You hear about figs and pomegranates. You know, the 7 fruits and,
And
Does the olive branch come in?
And the only thing which came to my mind, there are actually 3 layers, like a fresh almond has a green
Yeah.
sort of fleshy
Yeah.
cover, and then you open, and then there's a stone,
Yeah.
like many other fruits, but then you have to break into the stones,
Yeah.
and finally you can.
Find the almond. for this
Almond.
Right.
So it's something that takes a lot of effort. Talking about another metaphor, for he was the one probably put the most effort
Yeah.
into understanding what his mission
So the
was.
depths and the different
The
layers
depths.
were connected to each other in the
Yeah.
midrash. Nice.
Probably put a lot of effort in understanding his mission, and so was the one who was chosen. Just random thoughts.
Yeah, that's. This is almost the opposite. We're welcoming in all those foreign thoughts and saying, oh, hey, instead of just now it's like letting them teach us.
And it felt good to have the 4 levels and
Yeah, yeah.
think the different spectacles every time.
Do you have something about an olive branch?
No, I just realised that I was way off.
There's no such thing.
No,
There's no such thing.
no.
Whatever comes in is.
No, it was, as I was listening, I was thinking,
Okay.
where did olive come from? It was an almond.
Nice.
That's what I mean,
Well, there's probably,
Miles off.
that's probably where a lot of stuff happens. We thought it was an almond, but it really wasn't almond. Okay.
Fourth level, my, in a cynicism came out, because I thought, well, look, Moses happens to want his brother to have a leadership position. What did Moses do when he set the staffs up overnight to make Aaron's one to be the one that blew? Was it put deeper into water? Or did it have a little hole drilled down the middle of the plant? And I also thought the old, 1,000 years is but a day in the eyes of the Lord, where we marry together creationism versus intelligent design, is that the 7 days are metaphorical. And I thought maybe that was not just one day, as we see it. Maybe it was metaphorical,
Maybe it took
for
some
they were
time.
left there for a season. And this is what came out, because, you don't get things moving over
Oh,
budget.
that's an interesting, that's interesting, Deborah, thank you. Yeah, that's interesting. Yes.
Yeah, just listening to people who had more thoughts than me, clearly. I just noticed that I was on my the different levels, actually for the same verse, to achieve this level, to reach this level, you have to focus on different parts of the verse, I feel. It's not the same. When you want the shots, the first level, you focus on one part. When you want the MS or the sword, you focus on more the blooming stuff.
That's what happened for you when you listened to different parts came up for you.
People, no, I had very limited thoughts. So again, so it's just when people are taking a sample of when they reached the stage, I feel it's a different part of the verse that is more likely to drive you towards this next stage. I thought that was maybe my problem because I tried to think about the verse entirely, and it was hard to remember the beginning. Like, come on, the literal translation of what is said. So it was a bit hard for me to do that.
I actually had trouble just doing the first one because my mind got stuck on in front of other night.
Yeah.
And those words skipped. So then I couldn't hear what came after that.
Yeah, good.
And then the next thing I heard was the almond blossom, which I also know. So then both images came together. And then I just go straight into in front of Adonai, one can become an almond blossom.
Beautiful. That's the point. I mean, something's sticking, something sticks. Something stays back. That's beautiful.
I'll write it one tonight.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just thinking in terms of, I had difficulties with the fourth one. The first one is just a story. The second one is God has chosen Aaron. The third one is you shall follow Aaron. Aaron is your leader. He's going to lead you to great things through a symbol of the others. The fourth one I thought was going to be, how do you interpret this in today's life to you? How are the leaders chosen? How do you know when a leader is chosen by God? What is the symbol? There I'm lost.
Yeah, and we should be getting lost. But it's also part of Korach, all about who is a leader, who is, it's all connected to the rest of the portion about leadership. So interesting that you picked that part as well as unknowable, how do we do that? Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yeah, what I noticed was that they saw, it said that they saw, and it was like that's all that was said, but to me it just kind of meant that they also noticed that he was chosen. And there's nothing about acceptance or anything like that, but they noticed that he was singled out.
My God.
That's all.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard when we choose a leader, and it's like, how do we know? And like, he's not the one I wanted, he was I wanted somebody else. But here it's nice. Anyway. This is a really nice way to study text, I think. Just keep on it. I said, would you try and all those just random thoughts that are coming in or things that are sticking, like when we're meditating and something's sticking, we're trying to come back to the breath, we're trying to unstick it, things are coming in, and here we are welcoming in, something sticking, the branch, and standing before God, and having a random thought about something, So,
Then I really liked hearing, what Lucas said, because in the last part of it, I was thinking, why does God choose one? And does that mean, unfortunately, that we may not be, we would like to be chosen, but we may not be as a person. So I like what you said about going deep, because that's something that you can do. You can make yourself go deep and make my
So it's a personal message for you.
So you don't wait. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Good.
So I like it.
And it's a comparison with someone who studies Torah and someone who practice. I think you have it's like a tree without branch or without roots. You need both, actually. I don't remember which one is which one.
Very nice. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we do have some time to do some other meditations. If nobody feels worried, especially about doing a study of Shema, it's not the kind that we would always say. But I would like us to do a meditation on the Shema. And then I'll give you a reading, and then we'll do a shalom chant, and I think that will be the end of the session. Even though I have other things to do, but I don't want to. This part of the session, I just want us to just focus on a couple of things, not to be too complicated. So Shema. Shema means listen. It's addressed to the Israel in each one of us, to the God wrestler in each one of us. The Israel that yearns to transcend boundaries. The Shema tells us to listen, to quiet down the mind completely, and to open up to the universal message of God's unity. If we say the words slowly, the Shema can be a very powerful meditation. We can allow the simple meaning of each word to penetrate our mind, understanding the words not with our intellect, but with our soul. So we'll combine the awareness of our breath and each word of the Shema we'll say with one breath. So as we were doing our meditation on the letters of God's name, we can do a meditation on the words of the Shema. And then we'll break it down even further just to the shh and na, which is kind of very nice. So I always close my eyes. It's much easier, it's much better to kind of see each word. So take a breath in. Shema. Sing with me if you want to. Shema. just take the sh and the ma. Sh is kind of a agitated kind of sound, and then the ma is like that kind of you see people doing when they're meditating. So let's just do that 3 times. Just the just the word Shema. So take a breath in, and then we say sh on the way out, and then breath in, ha. These are just all things you can do at home during your daily prayer. I just want to read you a what I want to leave with you, these are finishing things. What is essential in spiritual practice, spiritual work, is daily practice. So we can learn these breathing techniques. We can learn how to say the Shema in a meditative way. We can eat with our raisin. But it's the daily practice that brings us deeper and deeper. It's our staff deep into the earth. So do it every day. That's the main essential thing. But of course it's hard. So here's a poem that one of my teachers gave me. It's called, "Because even the word obstacle is an obstacle. Try to love everything that gets in your way. The Chinese women in flowered bathing caps murmuring together in Mandarin and doing leg exercises in your lane while you execute 36 furious laps, one for every item on your to-do list. The heavy-bellied man who goes thrashing through the water like a horse with a harpoon stuck in its side, and his breathless tsunamis rock you from your course. Teachers all, learn to be small and swim past obstacles like a minnow without grudges or memory. Dart towards your goal, sperm to egg, thinking, obstacle is another obstacle. Try to love the teenage girl, lounging against the ladder, showing off her new tattoo. Here's some French, which I wasn't pronounced correctly. C'est vie est la mienne. This life is mine. In thick blue-black letters on her ivory instep. Be glad she'll have that to look at the rest of her life, and keep going. Swim by an uncle in the lane next to yours, who is teaching his nephew how to hold his breath underwater, even though kids aren't supposed to be in the pool at this hour. Someday, years from now, this boy who is kicking and flailing in the exact place you want to touch and turn may be a young man at a wedding on a boat, raising his champagne glass in a toast, when a huge wave hits, washing everyone overboard. He'll come up coughing and spitting like he is now, but he'll come up like a corpse, alive. So your moment of impatience must bow in service to the larger story. Because if something is in your way, it is going your way, the way of all beings, towards darkness and towards light. So I know it's early, but we'll end with a chant. Yeah.
I was just giving snaps. Right? Is that what?
I don't know, what does that mean?
Oh, after like somebody reads a poem, you
Oh.
give snaps?
Never heard that. We can bring that into our. So shalom is a nice way to end any meeting. So here's a shalom chant, which can also be a meditation. And so I'll sing it a few times until you get it, and then we'll all sing it together. So goodbye, go in peace, all that stuff. Shalom, 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 a good meditation.
Thank you very much, JoEllen. Maybe since we finished early, if anybody has any questions.
Yeah. We can keep talking.
Prefer meditating in the morning and at night, or how about the very thin line between something Jewish and something not Jewish? I'll be going on a retreat soon.
Yeah.
And I did ask, are there going to be any idols in the room, and are there going to be any mantras? And the answer is no to both, so I feel confident. But they did say in the retreat, we request that you don't do any of your normal prayers, don't bring any religious symbols, nothing. They just want you to be yourself. But I'm like, but what I do in the privacy of my own room is my decision, right?
Yes.
So, and ideally, they want you to leave all your religion behind. But there's no idol, like I feel very uncomfortable meditating in front of a Buddha, for example. So, can you talk a bit about?
One of my teachers went on a retreat that did not have a morning session. I'm not sure if it was a non-Jewish retreat or not, but it was silent. And he wanted to do his morning prayers, but he said he did them in silence. And he said when he was doing one of the singing prayers, he noticed, even though he was silent, that he was having trouble reaching the high note when he was praying in silence. So, that's a really interesting thing, to be in a silent retreat where you're going to be in silence and you're going to be doing some private stuff where you don't want other people, and it'll be interesting for you to have that experience, I think, to be praying in total silence and no one else can hear you. I think, I studied spiritual direction with Christians, and it was so interesting for me to see the power of my own religion in with all the Christian studies, and to just open myself to learning about it, and but not lose any of my who I was. So I just say open to what's going to be with what's there, and do your own prayer. But it'll be interesting. You're going as well. Yeah. They'll be doing it, and it's silent, right?
Silent meditation.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
It'll be silent. But the thing that there's 10 days.
9 days. You talk to each other on the 10th day.
And what is is it a Buddhist retreat?
No, it's Vipassana. Or Vipassana.
Okay.
No, it's Vipassana.
Which is mindfulness.
about non-reaction. But it's interesting because for me, being Jewish is about being active and stressed. You know, Jews aren't calm. So it's almost like trying to calm
Your
yourself.
natural
Yeah,
self.
exactly. Yeah, to inhibit that Jewishness, you know, anxiety that you live with every day.
Yeah, you probably will be more anxious than the rest of them, but that's what I found in my Christian, when I was with a lot of Christians.
The Jews are more anxious.
But what I did with when I was with all Jews, you know, we were all struggling with that because it's a thing. But it does help us to see more clearly and to pray more deeply. It really does. I found that in myself. Just to be mindful, you know.
It's an hour from August.
I'm
Anybody
really
have
interested.
questions?
Can I ask, how did you know that everybody was struggling if you were all silent?
Because we had question and answer time.
Oh,
And
okay.
people were struggling. At the end, yeah. Well, we had sort of half an hour at the end of each day. Well, we didn't talk to each other, but we could ask the teacher, you know. Is it still awake? We did. I mean, that's a thing that happens to everybody. But we're noticing it, that's the difference. We're noticing it, we're thinking, okay, and we'll be learning, I guess, to notice where you're feeling that in your body, where is the anxiety, is it, don't label it as anxiety, just notice that you're feeling something in your stomach and just notice it and notice that everything passes. I mean, that's
You say, my friend,
everything passes. What's
you
that?
say, my friend anxiety has come to visit me again.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Really interesting how they talk about it, because it will be like noticing it. Because when you notice it and you sit with it, it kind of dissipates, and that's the teaching. Everything, nothing is stays. Everything passes. Everything passes. So when you notice your breath, everything's passing. I mean, your breath is different every time. Some of your breaths are deep, some of them are shallow, sometimes you have a thought. I mean, even when you're sitting still and you're just breathing, there's so much that's changing. It's not like, you know, you're shifting a little bit, and your breath changes and your sweat. It's still, everything is changing all the time. Nothing is permanent. That frees us. Just frees us.
I don't know if you already said this, but what's the best way that you like to meditate?
Me personally, when I was on this retreat, a lot of us were around my age, so a lot of people didn't sit on the floor. We sat on chairs, and that was really liberating because I just thought, another thing, you know. But which is the best way. But if you can't, you know, you're not supposed to be in agony while you're sitting. So I found for me, it's really comfortable, but sitting on a chair, I suppose, you know, if I fall asleep, I fall off the chair. So I found that I sit on a high cushion and I just have my knees straight. And it's really comfortable for me. So, but I really want someone to come and look at me. So that's the thing. I want someone to say, you know, you have to just be comfortable for an amount of time, 20 minutes or 30 minutes or however long, as long as you're comfortable and not falling asleep, so not lying in bed. And apparently your knees have to be lower. So that helps you sit with your back straight. You do sitting meditation? How do you sit? You sit in the lotus position?
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I usually just do like a half lotus after those one.
Does anyone want to share how they sit in meditation if they meditate?
I meditate with people at work and
Oh, yeah.
everybody sits on a chair
Yeah.
except me.
Oh.
I can't sit on the chair.
So what do you do?
I do half lotus.
You do half lotus on the floor.
I've used something.
I really
Sorry?
I haven't done it very much, but I've used something like a stool.
Yeah.
Either it's square at the bottom or round, so you can drop. But I find that very comfortable. Just tuck your legs under it, just sit on top of it.
Yes. Where did you get that?
It was usually wearing my weight, so
Oh, I
just
see.
one off either a cushion or one of the
Yeah.
seats if they were meant to be on. I think you can find it, but I don't
I
know.
like
where.
sitting out like that, but I
Usually
wasn't
it's
sure.
provided, but I find
Okay.
it particularly comfortable.
Okay.
Sit for long.
Yeah.
What is it, JoEllen?
Yeah.
I didn't quite hear the description.
It's like a stool, you can sit on it, it's got rounded legs so that if it moves with you. It's a special kneeling stool, and you can tuck your legs under, like that's how I like to sit. So I don't have the right equipment just yet.
I really like doing like the movements and like yoga meditating. Like yoga is supposed to be like preparing your body for sitting meditation.
Right.
But I find like the breathing and moving is really sobering. It makes me like snap right into just being really present. You guys like hold things for a certain amount of time, like just like kind of channel your energy like with
Yeah.
your movements and your breath.
Yeah, yoga is really good
I love it.
for meditation and also for sitting and also
And
for breathing.
I have noticed from the women's gallery, actually, and sure, sometimes when men pray, they get into a sway.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a form of
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that as well. I kind of get into a bit of a.
It's supposed to be like
But
just
I mean,
your
women, I kind of do this.
flickering. It's supposed to be like your inner yid, like flickering,
Your inner what?
like your yid.
Oh, your inner yid.
That's what Chabad told me.
Like your is. Like your yid.
your yid,
Your inner yid.
Any more questions? Well, JoEllen's next talk on meditation is on the 16th of July. And following that, the third one is on the 6th of August. Okay, so June, July,
Yeah, 1
August.
each.
Yeah, it's really, yeah.
So
And
next time I want to report on how you're all doing.
we should have eaten a raisin a day.
Are you raising you?
A raisin a day. Yeah. Next week I'll be speaking about, we'll now be showing a 60-minute documentary called Women Unchained,
Oh.
which I ordered from the Jewish Film Archives at Brandeis University. It shows the story of several women who are having problems getting their husbands to give them a get.
Wow.
And it really is a very good summary of what I spoke about last time. And then we'll be talking about some creative ways that the rabbinate took care of women who were not after 9/11, where there were no witnesses, husbands. So yeah, it should be very interesting. And then Paul Morris will be speaking for the first time after that. So thank you very